Happy VA Wednesday. So I'm actually really excited to do this video because I feel like we're in the right time of the market for it, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So, how to buy a house with a VA loan with no money out of your pocket. Yeah, you can do it. And look, I'm sure you've heard from other lenders, well, you have to have earnest money, you have to have closing costs, you have to. You know what? In a perfect world, you would have all that, okay? In a perfect world, I would be in a castle on a beach. Well, sadly, truly sadly, because that would be epic, right? Castle on the beach, white horse, like, can you see it? We don't live in that world. So sometimes we have to make do with what we have in order to accomplish our goals. So if your goal is to own a house, but you're like, I don't have the cash, I'm never gonna own, yeah, let's do it. If you fought for and you got that VA benefit, which if you're watching this video, you did or your spouse did, we're gonna use it. And you can do this. It just takes a great lender, humble as well as a good realtor. We don't want any of those whiny baby realtors who like to say, I can't, you can't, no, we can't. No. Bye-bye, can'ts. And a little strategy. That's it. We can do this. We were actually doing this during 2020 and 2021, which are like the hottest years in history, in certain situations when they arose. So it's definitely doable. So I'm going to walk you through how to do it. Okay. First of all, you need to get pre-approved. Okay, basically what we're going to be doing is when you're buying a house, there's closing costs. That's usually the big issue people have is, VA zero down, which means zero down payment. It does not mean zero closing costs. VA does not cover your closing costs. Even if you're disabled, they waive the funding fee, but they don't cover your closing costs. So the closing costs are usually the big barrier to entry. Now, when rates were really low, what lenders could do is we could give you a higher rate and give you money for closing costs. So if you're watching this going, well, I've never paid closing costs before, guys, it's because your seller gave you the seller either paid for it or the lender gave you a higher rate and covered it. That's how your closing costs were paid before. Those are the only two ways they can be paid for if it's not you paying for it, okay? So the lender giving you a higher rate and paying all closing costs, it's a lot tougher right now. And the reason is the rates are so volatile that we're not seeing what I would call money in the margin like we used to. So 2020, 2019, even 2021, I could look at a rate sheet, I could go up 0.5% to 1%, and we could definitely give the client a chunk of money towards closing costs if that's what they wanted to do. Most of my clients wanted the lowest rate possible for the lowest monthly payment, and we were trying to get the seller to pay the closing costs, which is always my preferred way to go. So, number one, first step, you gotta get pre-approved. You need to get pre-approved, you need to get fully underwritten, you need to be working with a lender who is an expert and not an order taker. I can't state that enough. There's so many call centers, I say it in air quotes, but they're actually call centers, that's what they are, who serve as VA loans. Like, that's who you guys are directed to. All the ads that you guys are getting, they're call centers. It's not the strongest lenders. And people are like, oh, well, if it's a call center, no, it's not cheaper. It's not cheaper. One of the biggest call centers for VA loans charges 1% up to $3,000. Yeah, and they're not gonna give you a loan summary or tell you about it till you're in contract. For real. For real, you guys know who I'm talking about. Some of you do. Type it in the comments. Let's see if you get it right. I won't say yes or no because I don't want to be sued, but I think we'll be able to figure it out. Okay, so you need an expert, not an order taker, because your lender needs to be strategizing this. Now, can you do this in all states with all price points? No. If you guys wanted to try to do this in New York with a $100,000 loan, it's not going to work. Here's why. The maximum credit a seller can give you for closing costs is 4% of the purchase price, okay? So on a $300,000 house, that's 12 grand, $400,000 house, that's 16. I mean, we can keep on doing math just to see if I can. 4% on 500K, 20K, and on and on and on and on, right? On 100,000, it's 4 grand, and it's very rare that we ever see closing costs that inexpensive around the country, okay? Now, let's talk about what closing costs are. So, first of all, with VA, I waive my lender fee. So you don't need to worry about a lender fee if you're working with me. I'm licensed everywhere but Rhode Island and Utah. Rhode Island because I've been lazy. I'm sorry, guys. I will get there. And Utah because I personally object to their education requirements, and I've drawn the line in the sand, and I am not budging until they get with this century. Anyways, so I'm everywhere else, so we're happy to help you. Okay, so the lender's job, what we have to do is we have to get you fully pre-approved, and then we walk you through what to expect with closing costs. Because a lot of times people go, well, it's just the lender fee, right? And you're waiving yours, Jen, so I don't need to worry about it. No. So other closing costs to consider are a year of homeowner's insurance. Yeah, that can be, in some states, that can be $3,000 a year, even higher on more expensive houses. If you're in Hurricane Alley, it could be $4,000 a year. So that's a big closing cost. Title in escrow or title in attorney, that's another big closing cost. Prepaid interest. Prepaid interest is from the date that you close on the house through the end of the month. It's like prorated rent. That's another closing cost, okay? If you guys are working with another lender, they may be charging you a lender fee. That's even more money, right? So money, 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 closing costs can add up to, I've seen them as high as $20,000, no joke, okay? And certain states are more expensive than others. So it's really important that when you're talking to a lender, you're talking to a lender that is gonna take the time to go through closing costs with you and say, okay, here's our game plan. Because that's the thing, like what happens a lot is lenders just turn people away because they go, oh, well, they don't have any money for closing costs, so why would I work on their loan? Whereas I'm like, oh my God, it's a VA loan. If they don't have money for closing costs, let's negotiate this, right? And then there's always some real estate agent that's like, you can't get the seller to pay closing costs here. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. I mean, we were doing it in 2020, 2021. If we can help the realtors help, negotiate for the buyer to get closing costs in those years, we can definitely do it in 2022. Seriously, the market's shifting. So is the market shifting to a bunch of foreclosures? No, but the market's shifting back to where a buyer can actually negotiate. So let's just, for example, let's say that you're in, oh gosh, I don't know. I don't want to pick a state. I don't have any favorites. I don't know, let's just go with Ohio, okay? So let's say you're in Ohio actually has really inexpensive closing costs, I'm just gonna say that. So let's say you're in Texas, everyone wants to move to Texas. In Texas, let's say you're buying a $500,000 house. I would say, look, we're gonna need 3.5%. It's going to depend on the taxes of the house, okay? So the lender has to know that. So I'd probably say, let's go for 4%. Now, are you going to go for a house that's been on the market for a day and ask for 4% and expect to get it? No. I mean, look, you could try. It never hurts to try. Write a love letter to the seller. Sometimes those really do work, seriously. But realistically, the time you're going to be able to negotiate with the seller to pay a portion of your closing costs is when the house has been on the market longer. So I would say, first 14 days, they're usually pretty hesitant. 14 on, that's when they start to be able to negotiate. Now, this is also going to depend on the skill of your real estate agent, right? If you have a real estate agent that has a case of the I can'ts, right, it's not going to get done. And I've seen this. I've had in San Antonio is a great example. So in San Antonio in Texas, I've had multiple clients at the same time. It's a bigger area for us. And I'll have clients working with one realtor where they go, no problem, we'll get it done. And they're in contract and they're getting what they need in order to close. They're getting the credit. The realtor found the right house where they would accept the offer, et cetera, et cetera. And then I've got other clients where they still don't have a house because their realtor just can't find a damn house and can't figure out how to get it in contract. And the situation I'm actually thinking of, these people need closing cost help, negotiated for closed. These people don't, and the realtor can't even find them a house or get them in contract. They're writing offer and offer and offer and getting beat out. Is this the client's fault? No, guys. Real estate agents are your negotiators. Like, I can't stress this enough. The person you hire as your real estate agent, they are your negotiator. Okay? And this can be accomplished with a great negotiator. Can this be accomplished with I can't Betsy or I can't Sam? No, because they can't do anything because they're excuses. They're all about excuses. Sorry. I hate it when people say I can't. I know. It drives me nuts because it's like anything is possible if you guys put your mind to it. You guys have been in the military. You don't need me telling you this. You've been told this your whole life that everything's possible. So, okay. So here's how it works. We would get you fully underwritten. And then when we're going through the approval, I would go through line by line by line with you so that you know what closing costs look like. We'd really dig into like taxes and insurance because that's usually the biggest variable. And then you and I would have a conversation, because sometimes people are like, well, Jen, I don't want to ask for a whole credit. I've got like 2K or this. And we talk about, okay, like if you have 2K, I don't want to take all the money out of your bank account. that's the last thing I want to do as a lender, because I want to make sure that if you move into that house and that water heater breaks, you can pay to replace it. Okay, so that's something to think about too, because sometimes people are like, well, I have money for closing, I just won't have anything left. That's a dangerous position to be in, as a first-time home buyer. So you want to be careful about that, okay? So we would look at what we expect the closing costs to be, and then as well as you talk to your real estate agent, how much should I expect inspections to be, because that's another thing, inspections. And then when you write your offer, you're going to ask the seller to do a credit for that, okay? It's pretty simple. Now, does the seller have to accept your offer? No. Do they have to give you a credit? No. If they want to sell the house and they don't have any other offers, might they accept it? Yes. Yes, yes. And if they turn your offer down the first time, ask to be in backup position. I posted an article a couple weeks ago about how many houses are falling out of contract, and it's usually, there's two big reasons. Number one, people are trying to negotiate once they get into contract, which can go either way. I usually like negotiating up front because I feel like it's more transparent and honest. Or number two, the buyers never checked in with their lender about rates. They didn't have a lock-in shop, and rates are up and they don't qualify. Okay, now you guys know if you're working with us, we can do a lock and roll so your rate is locked while you're shopped too, so you can be fully underwritten, locked, ready to go. Okay, so that is how we are getting people into houses right now with 0 down, is we're taking the strategy of, okay, what do we need to make this a reality for you? We're coordinating with the real estate agent saying this is non-negotiable, we need this, and then look, are you gonna have to look at a lot of houses? Potentially. Might you get it your first offer? Maybe. It happens, but there is a way to accomplish this. You just have to have your game plan put together. So if a lender's turned you down because they've said, oh, you don't have EMD, or you don't have enough for closing costs, just know that you are working with an order taker and not an expert, and call the experts. Let's game plan this. I want to get so many veterans into homes this year, because there was so much nonsense in the last 2 years about like, oh, VA loans are hard. Guys, this is a great year to teach everyone that VA loans are not hard. They're easy. They can close quick. They are awesome, and they are a huge benefit for you. And the fact that we can ask the seller for 4% towards closing costs, magic. Okay? And I'm going to tell you guys one story as I depart. I know this has been long, but I'm actually really excited. I have a client. He will go down in the history books. I'm wondering if any of you guys are gonna out-negotiate him. This guy is the best negotiator I've ever hit. He was able to negotiate. Now, he was buying a more expensive house. I think it was about $700,000 or $800,000, so it was an expensive house. He negotiated for the seller to pay all closing costs and the funding fee. Yeah, he wasn't VA disability. The funding fee was going to be 2.3%. So he was able to get that funding fee paid for and the closing costs by getting that 4% credit. I've only seen that once in the last 3 years, but I am hoping that one of you guys are able to do that, and I hope that the rest of you guys were able to get you into houses with still a little bit of money in your bank so that you're in a good position and really take advantage of this moment in the market. Because I do think that if we really hit a recession hard, I think we're in a recession already, but I think at some point the rates will start lowering and then it's going to get really aggressive again. So it's like this weird magical moment right now of in between where I think there's a lot of opportunity. So questions, comments, as always, reach out. I'm licensed in 48 states. I want to do your loan. Guys, I love VA loans. Like, I'm not gonna lie or like be shy. I wanna do your loans. So if you're looking for a lender that's not gonna bullshit you, give you a great rate and get the job done, I'm here, okay? Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next Wednesday.